Sliding gates with reliable automation made by yourself, many times cheaper than store-bought or custom-made ones. Sliding gates without an expensive and labor-intensive foundation. With filling made from a unique, inexpensive composite material based on the cheapest polystyrene foam. This material is easier and faster to make yourself than to look for where to buy it. Also, you probably can't buy it, as similar items are rare because of their extremely high cost. And I've been making it myself for years, almost for pennies, from the most accessible ingredients that are sold in any hardware store. Unlike gates made of wood or metal, gates made from this material can have a huge variety of finishing options applied to them. Thanks to this, the gates can look strict and concise, or they can look truly luxurious, thereby highlighting the excellent taste of their owners. You asked and I did it, but let's take it step by step. Subtitles by Dima Torzak. Hello everyone. To make the gate filling, I needed extruded polystyrene foam. I roughen its smooth sheets with a saw blade detached from the handle. Sometimes you can find rough polystyrene foam for sale, but I happen to get this smooth one for cheap. The sheets and expanded polystyrene have an L edge, which I carefully coat where needed with polyurethane adhesive foam. I glue the sheets and weigh them down while the glue sets. This adhesive foam sets in 20 minutes in warm weather. After the foam hardens, I carefully trim off the excess so it's flush with the surface, so it won't interfere with what I have planned. A simple utility knife with a sharp replaceable blade works best for this. I didn't have enough extruded polystyrene left, so I went to the store and bought some more. I skipped small amounts and bought a whole pack. With the leftovers, I plan to make a plunge tub as I promised earlier. There's a video on the Yasha Koshak Songs channel where I made a low-cost septic tank ring with this material. I glued a large blank from 14 standard extruded polystyrene sheets, each just 3 centimeters thick. Regular viewers know the method is versatile, and I enjoy creating small construction miracles with Penoplex. I cut off the excess width, carefully apply glue, and extend it in length. I need the gate height to be 1.90 meters, but 2 stacked Penoplex sheets are nearly 2.40 meters tall. There are 13 sheets in a standard pack, so I needed a pack and 1 extra sheet, but that's even with some to spare. As a result, I got a blank about 2 by 5 meters. Next, I use alkali-resistant plaster fiberglass mesh. I cut it into strips equal to the width of the blank I made. From extruded polystyrene, I mix a store-bought compound that I use for gluing and plastering thermal insulation materials. It is used for both extruded polystyrene and mineral wool boards. And with some simple actions, I start forming the base reinforcing layer on the surface. With a trowel and patches, I apply the mixture, smooth it with the flat side of a notched trowel, then use the notched side to remove excess mortar. Using the notched side of the trowel ensures an even application of the mixture. I lay the mesh with the flat side of the trowel, pressing it into the mortar. Then I use a wide putty knife to make it perfectly even. According to the guidelines, the overlaps of the next strips of mesh should be at least 10 centimeters. If the weather is hot, the mixture dries very quickly, so it's best to keep it moist. I quickly trim excess glue from the edges. Cement-based mixtures reach their full strength in 28 days. That's why, even when it seems dry, it's easy to fix mistakes with a putty knife, mistakes that reveal amateurs like us. The next day, we turn over the hardened piece, and the process is repeated again. Actually, in this video, I'm not making the gate completely from scratch. We have an old gate that was made more than 15 years ago. It already needs some minor repairs. My dad welded them. Back then, I didn't know how to use electric welding yet. The gate is simple, built from a rectangular steel frame welded from 6 by 4 cm profile pipe. The frame is 6 meters long and 1.9 meters wide outside, with 6 internal crossbars of the same profile pipe. Purchased guides were used. There are 2 purchased roller supports, a lower and an upper catcher. The gate is locked with a screwdriver. The filling is made of corrugated metal sheets. Our gate does not have an expensive or labor-intensive foundation. Because a channel with welded pads was bolted to the fence foundation, and the roller supports which the guide slides on were bolted to those pads. Having this channel should make installing the drive much easier for me. I found a thick sheet of metal in my stash and cut a platform for the drive from it. I'll place it centered between the roller supports. I think that's the most stable spot with minimal deviations and vibrations. To allow for future adjustments, I won't weld the platform to the channel, I'll bolt it on instead. The manual states the required distance between the gear and the rack's mounting point. Using this information, I determined the required position of the mounting plate that came with the drive, which really makes installation and adjustment easier. The platform turned out to be a bit uneven, but the bolts on the mounting plate should fix that. I remember shop class, especially making a hammer from an 8mm thick piece of iron. I got 2 high-quality drill bits that made the job enjoyable. I think I made the hole for the wiring big enough. At first I wasn't sure how to secure the mounting plate, but I figured it out later. I did it my own way and didn't put the wiring hole in the right spot at first, but got it right the second time. Well, after that, there were some nice adjustment steps. If it weren't for the huge number of gnats, I could have taken my time with the installation. The brackets that attach the gear rack to the gate, I tighten them in this position. This is necessary to create a small working gap between the rack and the drive gear later on. I remember it took a while to convince the gate manufacturer to sell everything separately, letting us avoid paying extra for ready installed gates. I finally persuaded them, which helped me save a lot of money. I had no idea back then, no gates at all. Now you can get it all in 3 clicks at affordable prices. I align the next section of the welded rack with the previous one by placing a piece of the rack underneath them. The rack is sold in 1-meter sections. Since our gate is 4 meters wide, I needed 5 of them. The rack can then be easily removed. I loosened the rack mounting bolts, and by placing a 1.5mm diameter drill bit between the gear and the rack, I ensured the required clearance for proper operation. Everything is precise, just like in a pharmacy. So that our dog wouldn't decorate the gate surface with its paw prints before it dried, I blocked off the approaches for the drying period. The trim is fastened with aluminum rivets, which the wind sometimes loosens and pulls out. That's why every year or two I had to re-rivet some spots on the gate. Soon this will stop, I'm re-riveting for the last time. This way, it'll be easier to secure the new filling made from homemade composite material flush with the outer surface of the gate frame. When the profiled sheeting is removed, neighbors won't know what the filling is or be tempted to test its strength. And it's strong. I'm measuring the distance between the posts for the workpiece, sliding in a sheet of fiberboard so I don't cut the film. Editor. I mark the required size and cut it. Prolonged plastering of a horizontal surface requires a slight adjustment of the musculoskeletal system, which I now do quite quickly, but it doesn't require any plastering skills at all. In this case, gravity is completely on our side. I made the width of the blank right away so that the segments cut from it wouldn't have to be trimmed for height later. I took into account about 5 mm on each side for proper gluing. For extra evenness where needed, I clamped the gate filling part to the corrugated sheet with clamps. Polyurethane adhesive foam bonds materials with different physical properties very well. This homemade material is a real composite because components with certain properties are turned into a strong material with completely different ones. Under the video on the Yasha Kosyak Songs channel, many viewers asked if a fence could be made from this material. Here's a cross-section of our miracle material. I think these sliding gates are a specific kind of fence. So as you've already guessed, the answer is yes. EPPS's excellent thermal insulation isn't used in fences and gates. For example, in my house for $1,000 $1,000 a project or our outdoor Euro toilet, their walls are made just like that. But at the same time, the properties of Penaplex are used. It's almost waterproof and doesn't let water through. And you can also glue it like this. I put spacers underneath to provide a gap for foaming. Extruded polystyrene is not susceptible to rotting, it is susceptible to rotting. This makes it an ideal filler for composites, onto which you can apply a wide variety of finishing materials and coatings. They will hold very securely. The moment of truth is coming, and I'm drilling out the aluminum rivets for everything. I used up a 20-meter roll of fiberglass mesh and less than 3 25-kilogram bags of plaster mix. Before, the gates were covered with corrugated metal and made a lot of noise. Now everything is great. There's one last composite panel left, which I'm gluing behind the lintel for the screwdriver lock. The screwdriver is no longer needed. I'm filling the unfoamed joints from the street side. I cut off the excess foam, holding the knife at a slight angle. This way, I can cut it a bit deeper than the surface of the gate. To be continued. I seal all the joints with the familiar mixture. I hope that even with the frame, gate, and filling having different properties, everything will stay secure. For example, in our main house, the doors have rested on just mounting foam for a long time, and you shouldn't underestimate the adhesive strength of polyurethane foam glue. But even if in the future small cracks appear between the frame posts and the filling panels, they can always be hidden by using something like narrow moldings. So time has passed. Bye for now. Here I really went the extra mile. To prevent paint from getting on the plaster and reducing its adhesion to the final coating, hammered effect dark brown paint applied directly over rust. That's just what I need. I decided not to skip the priming step. I'm protecting the freshly painted posts of the gate frame with wide tape. Our main residence and surrounding area's budget exceeds that of my house for $1,000 project. That's why I decided to use store-bought decorative plaster, and I admit I kind of regret it. I don't think it's worth the money. It's just colored sand that you need to mix into an acrylic base. Applying it is much less pleasant than the cheap coatings made from tile adhesive for brick or wild stone, which I used in my previous projects. Acrylic thickens quickly in the heat, so I had to struggle with it, so not everything that's expensive shines. To connect the electrical part of the drive, I turned to Nikolai Ivanovich, the inventor of the method for making a cheap electric bicycle from a wheel of an unwanted hoverboard, a battery from a saw, and a controller from AliExpress. He's also my dad. Under his guidance, a computer numerical control coordinate machine was developed in the 1980s.
Well, it moves on its own anyway.
For laser soldering of microchips on printed circuit boards. Nikolai Ivanovich presented the development at the International Leipzig Fair. Litch shook hands with Erich Honecker, the then head of the German Democratic Republic government. Nikolai Ivanovich maintains the electrical tolerances in working condition. It turned out to be very easy for the engineer to start the gate automation.
And the same one goes forward, and the same one goes backward.
The Furnitech Drive has a wicket mode, and there's also a pinch protection feature. If a person, car, animal, or garden watering can is in the movement zone, the gate leaves won't pinch them hard. The gates will hit the obstacle and move back. Additionally, there are infrared sensors. The drive can be installed without them, but they won't hurt to have.
Well, it's absolutely natural stone. It's impressive because, Vera, look how beautiful it is. Mir.
The neighbor has exactly the same. Ours is better.
Moreover, it keeps flickering on and off, on and off.
I was curious about the power reserve of this unit, since in winter the drive will need more force to move the gate. Lowering the sensitivity made me realize the power is significant. And when my dad and I checked YouTube, it turned out that an electric bike with a wheel from a hoverboard is quite a common discovery made simultaneously by many bright minds who are trying to make unreasonably expensive electric transport much more affordable. And this is how we replaced the side guide rollers. A pin with washers slides in the groove of the welded angle. Everything has worked perfectly for over 15 years. So give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to the Yasha Koshak Songs channel. Follow me on Zen and TikTok. All the links are below the video. Also, hit the bell and then I'll definitely keep you updated. Yes, let there be peace everywhere. Thank you.